Yes, we can. Would you like us to begin the housekeeping remarks?
Yes, please do.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating in today's meeting. If attending in person, please do not connect to Zoom or teleconference while in the room, and please silence all devices. If translation is provided, click on the globe at the bottom of your screen to select either English or Spanish. Public comment will be taken after each item. If you're in the auditorium and wish to comment, please use the iPads located in the lobby or complete a blue speaker card as available. If you need assistance, please find a South Coast AQMD employee. Speakers may be limited to a total of 3 minutes or less for all agenda items. Times may be shortened to ensure all speakers can be heard. A countdown timer will be displayed on the screen for each public comment. More time will be allotted for Spanish translation that is not simultaneous. For questions or issues on making a public comment, please call the public advisor at 909-396-3247. That's 909-396-3247. Please adhere to the speaker time limit and treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Failure to do so can result in your mic being muted or you being removed from the meeting. Be aware that this meeting is being recorded. By participating, you authorize recording of audio and visual content presented during the live event and consent to subsequent use of the recording in the public domain by South Coast AQMD.
Thank you for that. Hello, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I have 12:02 on my watch, and maybe we can start with a roll call, please.
Good afternoon. I'm KJ. I will continue with the roll call. Chair Padilla Campos,
Is it?
Senator Delgado,
I'm here.
Supervisor Hagman, Mayor Elizabeth Alcantar, not here. Manuel Arredondo, not here. Angelica Balderas, not here. Ada Briseño, not here. Dr. Lawrence Beeson, here. Suzanne Bilodeau, here. Paul Cho, not here. Carrie Doi, not here. Dr. Afif El Hassan, not here. Lisa Hart, here. Mary Figueroa. Angela Garcia, not here. Kareem Gongora, not here. Anna Gonzalez, not here. Dr. Jill Johnston, not here. Eddie Marquez, not here. Donald Smith, not here. And Rafael Yanez, not here. Pamela. Pamela Adcity.
Did I count 6 people present?
We have 7.
7. Is that quorum?
No.
No. Should we then skip the action items then for now?
Chair, yes, we can skip the approval of the minutes. I'll just quickly report on item number 2, if that's okay.
Yes, I was referring to sorry, I see that. I was just referring to skipping the meeting minutes. Just say I'm glad to be back. I feel like I've been not present for a while, so it's just good to be with all of you here today. And I look forward to these agenda items and seeing these presentations, but we'll pass it on to Lisa for the review and follow-up action items. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So there actually isn't any follow-up or action items, but I did want to take a moment to introduce you to Carlos Gonzalez, our new Assistant Deputy Executive Officer for Legislative Public Affairs and Media. I think Carlos will be spending time with this group and want you all to know him, and he's fantastic. So, Carlos?
Yeah, good afternoon to everybody. Carlos Gonzalez here at South Coast. Spent 16 years in the state capitol, worked for 3 different members as the chief of staff. Manny Perez, Eduardo Garcia, and Ana Maria Avila Farias out of the Bay Area. Born and raised in the Coachella Valley, and I'm very pleasure to be here, and thank you all for the invitation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Carlos. I can't see you, but look forward to seeing you in person soon when I'm out there. And welcome. Great. So Lisa, I can move us forward then to the discussion items.
Supervisor Hagman just arrived, as well as
Oh,
another.
awesome. Okay, I'll take your lead on where to go next.
Great. So we can go ahead and move to the next item, I guess, as the supervisor gets settled.
Okay, that would be the Invest Clean presentation.
Great. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the advisory group. My name is Lisa Tanaka again, and I'll be doing a presentation on Invest Clean. And do we have the slides? Thanks. Okay, so let me see. All right. So the presentation today will cover an overview on the Invest Clean project itself, including our recent program announcements, the implementation timeline, and we also receive an update on the WARE program from Eugene Kang. And then we can have open questions and answers. So brief overview on Invest Clean. I think we've presented to the advisory group in the past, but as a reminder, this grant was part of the Inflation Reduction Act, through the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. The grant was awarded to us in October of 2024, and it's close to $500 million. The grant actually covers a geographic area larger than South Coast AQMD's jurisdiction. We worked in a coalition of all of the cities, counties, COGs, transportation commissions, interested stakeholders from both Los Angeles, Orange County, metropolitan statistical area, as well as the Inland Empire. So the grant stretches from our coast all the way to the California border and all 4 counties, Los Angeles, Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside. The purpose of the grant was through all of these working group meetings, through the CPRG process, goods movement was identified not only as a major source of greenhouse gas emissions, but of the criteria pollutants and impacts on our communities. So the goal of the program is to reduce air pollution and provide air quality benefits. There's a strong jobs training workforce component, as well as leveraging our funding to maximize our emissions reductions. Oh, sorry, this is a little wonky. So top line in the program, there were 4 incentive measures, which I will go into detail in subsequent parts of the presentation. But again, just top line, there were specific measures to reduce emissions, a workforce training program, a public benefits program for educational outreach, and lastly, a component with an academic institution to provide third-party oversight to validate the program performance and along the way provide information that will help us improve the program in real time. So there are 4 measures in the program, and heavy-duty charging infrastructure. One of the aims of the program really was to identify the challenges to transitioning to zero emissions goods movement. And infrastructure is identified as one of those very first hurdles. You have to be able to charge in order to operate the vehicles. And so this is their first measure. The next measure is for heavy duty trucks and last mile freight. So that's really like class 4 and 5, and then class 8 trucks. And then cargo handling equipment, that's top handlers and yard trucks. And then lastly, battery electrics, which are locomotives. So more detail. And I apologize, this is very hard to see. After this meeting, we will email out to the advisory group each of these flyers as well as the link to the new website that's going to be launched. So I apologize for the size of those. So the infrastructure program, again, it's $178.5 million. It is for class 4 through 8 for charging only. And it's open to all 4 counties. And so that can be fleets, it can be, any truck stop operators, things like that. So that is measure 1. The next measure is on the heavy duty trucks themselves. So this is class 8. So this is $28 million, which seems less than, the other categories, but there are other incentive programs. And one of the things that we're doing is making sure that as we roll out these incentive programs, that the dollars are being leveraged, but we're not overfunding any applicants. And so that's an important facet. But again, class 8 trucks. And it's very flexible in terms of who can apply. It can be any kind of fleet or individual, so small owner operators, or any sort of person who operates a heavy-duty vehicle. The next measure, this measure on last mile freight, is actually being implemented by SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments, our metropolitan planning organization. So they had already had a program for last mile freight, and so we are partnering with them. They haven't released their program announcement yet, but they will be doing so soon. So we'll provide an update as that comes out. The last, sorry, not the last, but the next measure that we just recently released for funding opportunities is on cargo handling equipment. And this is $20.6 million, and it's specifically for yard trucks and top handlers. And again, and I apologize, I didn't mention the timeline for the other measures. So measure 1, 2, and 3 are on the same timeline. The program announcements opened on August 15th, and they will close on November 28th at 12 p.m. And there is an online form. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for interested parties to apply for the fund. So again, these measures are all on the same timeline. So that's 1, that is for the infrastructure, 2 is for the heavy duty trucks, and 3, cargo handling equipment, all on the same time frame with online applications. The last measure that I'll mention, this is released earlier, and this is for battery electric switcher locomotives. This released, and I apologize, I'm thinking of, can't remember the exact date, but it closes on Thursday, September 30th of this year. And it is for $190.8 million for battery electric switcher locomotives. And with that, that's pretty much the overview of Invest Clean. Again, all of these program announcements are online and they're live. And we will send all of the advisory group members links as well as the flyers. And we encourage you to share their information with your communities to encourage participation in the programs. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eugene to go over where.
Sorry for the delay. So good afternoon, Chair and advisory group members. I'm Eugene Kang, and I'm a Planning and Rules Manager here at South Coast, and I'll briefly go over some of the information regarding the WARE mitigation program. This is the first year that this incentive program will be available, and we're currently still drafting some of the program requirements, but we hope to have the program ready for announcement in the next couple of months. So maybe before getting into it, I can give some background on our WARE program. Our Warehouse and Direct Source Rule 2305 applies to approximately 4,000 large warehouses in South Coast AQMD. And when I say large warehouses, we're talking about those that are 100,000 square feet in size or larger. The rule requires applicable warehouses to select from a variety of compliance options to address emissions associated with its warehouse activities, particularly its truck trips to and from the warehouses. And one of those compliance options is to pay into a mitigation fee or pay a mitigation fee. Now, warehouses need to demonstrate compliance with the rule on an annual basis. So those operators who are electing to pay mitigation fees are doing so every year. And so far, the amount collected in this fund over the last couple of years, the slide says $48 million, but it's actually closer to $49 million. And the intent of these WARE funds is to incentivize zero emission projects that reduce NOx and diesel PM emissions from warehouses in the same area that the paying warehouse or warehouses are located in. So although the total fund amount is $49 million, the amount that can be used to incentivize a project within a given area differs depending on the amount collected from warehouses located in that specific area. So if you look at the map, and this is kind of small, hard to see, but it basically illustrates the amount of funds collected per area, and those that are darker green represent areas where more fees have been collected and are available versus those that are lighter green. So another objective that we're trying to ensure is that construction for zero emission infrastructure projects are done using skilled, certified, trained workforces, just to make sure that these systems are being properly installed and safe. And for other requirements that we're thinking of, we've been meeting with various stakeholders over the past couple of months to help with program design requirements, including details on specific types of equipment that could possibly qualify for incentives. So we're hoping to get meaningful input soon from these folks and to get requirements developed so we can open up the program for solicitation, hopefully by the end of this year. So I mentioned we're still in the draft design phase of this program right now, and but I wanted to share at least some of our draft concepts so far. I just want to add that we'll be taking a more detailed final version of this draft program to Tech Committee for comments and review, and then also obviously to the governing board for approval before releasing the final program for announcement. So look out for those opportunities to see how the program design is evolving. So we're trying to make this process for this program fairly simple, and we're mirroring a lot of the requirements and maximum funding limits for vehicles and equipments to be similar to those that you find in other incentive programs like, Carl Moyer, Prop 1B, VW. So we're thinking that this would help promote program familiarity for applicants that may have had some experience with some of these other incentive programs. And it's also going to help out internal staff that would be processing the applications. So our idea right now is to consider applications in order received. So per geographic area. So basically a first come, first serve. And the hope is that this would help streamline the process and possibly expedite zero emission projects within those areas, those communities, so they can go ahead and start reaping the air quality benefits sooner. The WARE mitigation program will also allow stacking with incentives from other programs such as Carl Moyer or Invest Clean. But one of the things that we want to prevent is a situation where you might have an applicant that's stacking multiple programs and potentially somehow receives incentive funding that exceeds the actual cost of the equipment, right? So with keeping that in mind, we're requiring a 15% cost share from applicants. And this is considering all the funds received across other incentive program funds they may be leveraging. So this requirement isn't unique to WARE, and it already exists in programs such as Carl Moyer. So the 85% of the cost that incentive funding would be provided for is, what we're thinking is only going to be considering the total vehicle or equipment cost or purchase price. So not really thinking that this would apply to installation or construction, just more on capital costs, including taxes and fees. Another concept for the WARE program is that no vehicle scrapping would be required to qualify for funds. So, if it is that maybe incentive funds are being leveraged and stacked from other programs that do require it, obviously that commitment would still need to be met. But what we're not trying to change what other program requirements are. Is just saying that if wear mitigation program as a sole funding source, then scrapping of vehicles would not be required. So maybe I'll get into some of the examples of the potential types of funding projects. These are the typical ones you might see associated with warehouse activities, obviously on-road trucks, yard trucks. So, things that we would be qualifying for funding would be of the zero emission on-road trucks and yard trucks. We're thinking electric and hydrogen variants. Of course, there's charging infrastructure that might be needed for these vehicles. So we're looking at medium duty and heavy duty charging infrastructure that would also qualify. And then we're also aware that some warehouses are perhaps served by rail. So you might have rail that actually goes to these warehouses. So we would also be considering zero emission locomotives or other, different zero emission technologies that can be used there. There's also a whole bunch of other things that we're considering and are not listed here that we're looking into, but we're continuing to have ongoing meetings with these stakeholders to discuss whether or not they could or should qualify under the program. So hopefully in the coming months, you'll be able to see some of those listed out. Okay, so that's all I have to share on WARE for right now. I can turn it back over to Lisa.
Great, thank you. We're happy to take any questions.
I do. Oh, sorry. I probably pushed my sign up. Just a couple of things. One, we had a long discussion about some of these things with MSRC yesterday. And part of that discussion is we were trying to figure out where our funds can go support all these other programs out there, including CARB's program for HVIP and others. One of the things that came up as a constant issue was we have all these great ideas, but we can't get the power to the locations for all this equipment. So we're looking at, what we can do both here locally and by lobbying the state to try to make on-site power, clean linear generators, those type of things that may fit into it. I've had 2 projects in my district so far. Had one can park 800 vehicles, 800 trucks and charge 150, and Edison's come back and said, well, we could possibly do 20 chargers for you out of the 150. So I'm just wondering what thoughts were about what we could do on a local level to help get some of the power to the locations where they have some of the need, and we could do some bigger projects. Raphael, am I chairing this thing?
Thank you, Chairman. Those are good points, and I would encourage staff to maybe coordinate with the local power companies to address some of those issues, because like Chairman said, I mean, ultimately it's going to be a problem, as we roll out a lot of these programs and get the word out. I mean, just right off the bat, I mean, of course, solar powered infrastructure on the warehouses and whatnot, those are the low hanging fruit. Some of the things that I was trying to understand is, cargo handling equipment, not so much on a drayage truck or something like that scale. I was thinking more of the smaller, everyday thing. These are propane powered forklifts. Those are the small things, because of course, propane is a powerful greenhouse gas. And if we're targeting lowering zero, greenhouse gases, then, that would be the first line, if you will. Many of these warehouses and businesses that operate a forklift or have, those type of things, they have actually 3-phase power already. And so the question becomes is, what's needed in order to update the infrastructure for the power companies individually, because a lot of that's going to, as we know, as we get into these, antiquated system areas and the areas that are most impacted by, and with the need for this, all you have to do is look up and see how chewed up the wires are throughout the area. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say, oh, well, yeah, they're going to have, serious issues in gaining new power infrastructure to those locations. So think people like LEDWP, City of Vernon, those are, they handle their own power. Southern California Edison is also another power. I know they did a major infrastructure, or at least their major substation infrastructure upgrade, which is just right next to, the 60 freeway, next to that Costco that's, in Monterey Park. That whole yard got redone. And so now they have the backbone system. And I saw that, we now have Tesla charger stations at the nearby Smart Final. And it's a huge, 20, a bank of 20, super fast chargers, which is great. And that's probably directly, because of that infrastructure improvement. So it's those kind of things. And unless the district partners with these utility companies and asks them specifically, what do you guys need in order to provide power to these? Because we have incentive fundings coming. We won't be able to spend it or use it if we can't have that, infrastructure backbone. The other thing that I was going to ask is, if we're looking to reduce emissions in the most critical areas, and that's in the EJ communities and whatnot, then that's challenge one. Then challenge two is, it's my understanding with the previous presentation, the Invest Clean, that program timeline is already ticking in the application period. How has there been community outreach on this? I don't think it was announced at any of our current EJ meetings. On the AB 617 side, I know, we had funds appropriated in our EJ community at a rate of 1.7 million. And that was going to go for a zero emission rental, try before you buy kind of thing. But if we push towards this type of program for our communities, then, they're going to need help in the application process, RFP writing, that kind of stuff. So I would suggest workshops being held. And can the community participate is the other question. Can we designate, hey, we need a commercial charging station here. How do we overcome that 15% buy-in as the community putting forth these recommendations? Because if you put it in, they will come, right? At least that's the hope. But at least we can point to, hey, we just put in a public infrastructure right there that's now available for anybody. Thank you.
Dr. Beeson?
Well, I noticed on your last slide that comments, submit all comments by June 3. So does that mean comments are no longer being accepted, or are they still sort of being accepted?
No, I think that was an oversight. Some of these slides, we've already had workshops for, both Invest Clean and Where. And so I think that was just artifact of a previous workshop.
Are there any more comments in the room? I wanted to see if Senator Delgado had something to share.
It's exciting to see the programs roll out. I know we talked a lot about where and how these funds would go. So definitely want to prioritize the underserved communities, but thank you.
Thank you. I did want to ask a question. For the Invest Clean, there's a lot of counties, right, that we talked about. Is there any sort of is there any designation per county, or like someone said, it's like a first come, first serve from whatever county? Is there any sort of dividing of funds in any way?
So one of the priorities for the project is to be geographically diverse to ensure that the goods movement system from beginning to end on both sides and in between receive equitable funding focused on communities most impacted by goods movement. So there will be geographic diversity.
So the idea is to receive all the applicants and then sort of decide based on geography? Or how are you going to ensure you do that without, running out of funds?
So Aaron, Dr. Aaron Katzenstein's online. And Aaron, do you want to speak to the applications?
Yeah, so the application period ends in late November, and we left it a little open so that we could start to review proposals as they come in. But looking at our workload right now for applications, it's likely not going to be till all the applications come in, and at some point in December, we start to look at everything. And that's going to help to ensure that as those awards are made, we have geographic diversity. I heard the previous comment on the power requirements. That is something we're very concerned about. We want to make sure there's power for these sites and available land. That has been an issue from some of our previous projects. So we will be able to basically look at it in a holistic way that we want to, one, make sure the funding gets appropriated between, the two MSA territories. And we also look at these things like the corridors, right? So we have some locations we have funded in the previous past, and we want to make sure that, now there's routes that need to happen out to Coachella Valley, out to Nevada, places like that. So we want to focus on those sites also.
Great. And Erin, I just curious, how is this application? Is it very intense? Does AQMD provide any technical assistance in the application? What is that process like?
Yeah, we have to be careful on providing too much assistance for this
Sure.
competitive solicitation, but there is an email address that questions can be sent to us. The intent for these applications was to make them as easy as possible to the extent possible. But there are other requirements that had to come into this, like there's Build America, Buy America requirements for a lot of the hardware that come into this. So it is as simple as it can be, I guess is the way I can state that.
Okay, thank you. If I can also go to the slide for the WARE program, the one with the map that had the different numbers of the areas. I'm just curious, the ones that don't have any shade, that means that there's no funding there because there's no like everything's moving smoothly. There's nobody paying into mitigation. Can you just explain that map a little bit more, please?
Sure. Yes, that's exactly what you said. In those areas, there are no warehouses that are actually paying mitigation fees. So there's no mitigation funds available in those areas to help incentivize projects.
So they're all doing the right thing. Is that
Uh,
kind of? So there's no
Theoretically, yes,
mitigation fees?
yes. They're in compliance with.
Okay. 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 Thank you. Just those are it for my questions. So I don't know if there's any more comments in the room or if there's even, do we need to also go to folks online if someone can help with that?
I do have one more question,
Oh,
Madam
awesome.
Chair, if that's possible for a
Sure.
technical question. I'm learning about this, but apparently we have a HVIP list at the CARB level, at the state level. Are these programs only going off that list of equipment as well, or do we have a separate list, or what's the qualifications for the equipment to qualify?
I can answer this. I don't know if the WARE program has identified the equipment, but generally for a lot of the equipment the equipment in the Vest Clean, it does not have to be on the HVIP list, but we do want it to be commercialized equipment. So it's readily available. Even if it's demonstration equipment that's going to be charged at a site that's supported by the program, that could be, something that's part of this. But we cannot fund some of the incentives for the trucks and the cargo handling equipment unless those are commercial products. We don't want the demonstration products for those types of incentives.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Raphael had one question too.
Thank you. Going back to the map. So, I was trying to figure out how much funding is available in each community. And so it's such a tiny map, and I was looking on the website and I didn't see anything on the Invest Clean website that would lead me to understand how much funds are available for each particular community. So I know that you have shaded certain communities and whatnot, and it's just kind of hard to identify exactly. It looks like, and I can't even see from here, I'm sorry. But the darker green section, it looks like it's along the 710 corridor. It looks like there's some pretty dark funding, and then we have it looks like the shade above that appears to be in East LA Commerce, Boyle Heights area, City of Vernon. So how do we ascertain how much funds that represents and, you know, how quickly? Because first come, first served basis, Betty.
Sure.
So I need help. Thank
I
you.
think, I believe that the annual report for Ware is available online. I think it lists out what those specific amounts are. The amounts that I have are obviously more up to date, but, you know, not sure exactly when we're going to have workshops for this, but I can definitely kind of spell out exactly what those specific amounts are. I can definitely say for those darker green areas, you know, you're looking at the San Bernardino, Riverside County areas, right? So you're seeing a lot bigger amounts there. We're looking like at closer to 11 million, 10 million. And then all the other areas kind of have sprinkled out like maybe several millions, and then some going down to like just a couple 100,000. So obviously those areas that have bigger amounts available will probably have more variety of different types of incentive projects that can be funded there. But yeah, again, we can provide in future workshops a more fleshed out list specifics on the amounts available.
Though, it is that Eugene, I think this map is the fees collected. I think the state law changed for January 2025 in terms of the fees collected that they needed to be used in the communities that they were collected in.
Right. That's
Yeah.
why I was asking.
Yeah, so this is just fees collected since the beginning of the program. Doesn't look at the ones, the you know, the portion that was associated with the ones collected in 2025.
That's what
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if it's helpful, we can also break it out by year. I'm not sure if I'm getting to the answer, but
Well, are previous years funding available? Is that part of the pot of money that's going to be distributed, or are we just talking about 2025 money?
no, we're talking about everything that's been collected to date, so that would cover multiple years.
Okay, and then is this program going to be like an annual type of program, or is this a once and done, or once every 5 year kind
It
of
will be an
thing?
annual program. You know, obviously it's going to be a different amount every year. This amount's much bigger because it actually represents multiple years that's been collected, but compliance is supposed to be demonstrated on an annual basis. And so those operators that can't choose from the compliance menu, like switching out some of their fleet with electric vehicles, would be paying mitigation fees. And so that's going to be a different number every year. And the hope is that we have a solicitation every year to make these funds available so we can continue with incentivizing these projects.
So are you saying within each community and each, you know, funds that are collected, there are categories within that, the funds that are collected, that those money needs to goes towards
Right now, we're not
certain
thinking
handling
of-
equipment?
We're not thinking about categories being broken out just yet. I think this is the first year, so we're going to try to see what kind of applications we get per geographic area. But I mean, it could possibly be in the future after going through this, that maybe it makes more sense to come out with categories. But right now, it's just one amount that's available for, you know, all the variety of projects.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
We have one more question here.
Yes, thank you. I think Raphael touched upon it a bit, but I wanted, you say you're all not ready for the categories and this and that, but I really think maybe prioritizing, especially the AB 617 communities. As San Bernardino is a big county, and as many know, we're infested by warehouses there. But especially like these programs would touch for our community, the Invest Clean and the other one. And especially we're in the climate that we're in, the governor might be cutting AB 617. So my question to y'all, would that be something that y'all would focus on, the AB 617 communities being a priority? Especially, like I said, with the governor looking to cut our funding. And I don't know if many folks know, but AB 617 is not a program that we're going to see all the fruits of it overnight, but we have planted the seeds and the roots are strong. So if the governor comes in and starts chopping our funding, you're tearing away our roots before you see the trees and you see the fruit that's going to be given from this program. So my question to you, will the AB 617 communities be prioritized, especially where I come from in San Bernardino, the county is huge, but I want to make sure that like an area like San Bernardino and Muscoy, Fulton, Rialto, I mean, I could name, like I said, we're infested with these warehouses. So especially the SBM community, Muscoy, be one of your priorities automatically.
So, Andy, so first, just to kind of touch on the status of AB 617 funding. So South Coast AQMD continues to advocate for those funds. We were just in Sacramento, Assemblymember Solache. Well, first we hosted a webinar with our sister air districts in CAPCOA to educate legislative staff on the program. There's a lot of new members, a lot of new staff who don't have that historical knowledge about the benefits of the program. So we had an educational webinar, followed by Assemblymember Solache hosted an event on Tuesday where he invited members and their staff to come and learn about the program and sort of have that discussion one-on-one, and it was very well attended. Assemblymember Mark Gonzalez from the LA area was there as well. It was a fantastic event. And then we spent the day meeting with different offices. And so we continued to push very hard to make sure the funding is there for the 2025-26 cycle. And then we're looking for a continuous appropriation through the cap and trade reauthorization. So really critical to have that consistent line of funding, just as you said, to keep the commitment to the communities.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just know you have communities backing like ourselves, and I know Rafael could speak to that, who have been collabing with y'all alongside. And I got the chance to speak to CARB regarding the AB 617 not too long ago. So I appreciate the chairs that have uplifted 617. So Padilla, Delgado, I appreciate all the support for AB 617, but I think this is a time we need to go strong and hard and keep your commitment to the community that you say you center. Thank you.
Correct. And just to speak to your question about the prioritization for communities through Invest Clean. So Invest Clean was specifically developed to try and improve air quality in the communities most impacted by goods movement. And so if you look at the AB 617 communities in the map, clearly you can see the strong correlation with freight and the impacts on communities. So that will be captured in the prioritization for projects.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Lisa. And especially I appreciate you being a resource to the community whenever we have questions. I truly appreciate you for that.
No more questions here.
Thank you. Can we see if there's any questions online or from the public there? Actually, not sure if there's anybody there as well.
No additional questions, Chair.
Okay. Oh, I saw someone's hand just go up. Is that the public?
Chair, would you like me to call on the individual?
Oh, yes, please.
Phone number ending 23220. You're unmuted.
Hello. Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Howdy. My name is Harvey Eder. I'm the founder director of Public Solar Power Coalition and come into the district for 40 years and doing this for 40, 50 years. I want to offer public power as a solution for these sources and programs. You mentioned DWP, Vernon, and Edison's IOU. Also, with Edison, and we helped instigate this, there's the Clean Power Alliance. That's unincorporated areas of LA County, Ventura County, and 30 cities, including Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, et cetera, et cetera. So as a type, it's called community choice aggregation. Also, regular municipals, special districts, and this was mentioned in the last few days in funding. Different types of funding could be available through that. But so public power, and look at something to the governor for the state, for the transition, and for regional areas. So I wanted to put that out there, and that the definition of infrastructure, legal definition, includes power source, i.e. solar, and the land area and whatever be taken into effect. And that also to consider that when the warehouse program, the indirect source, 2304, was started, we got this group and young leaders to have a special meeting, which they can do, and the administrative committee has done this, we pointed this out, and the lobby for us. Now, all the stuff going on with the ports, I didn't see that on the agenda here. Maybe that with it appropriately. They're taking away, for 10 years, the law enforcement activity of the district, which is highly illegal. I want to incorporate, I reference the various meetings that have been held. Also, there's all kinds of meetings that are going on, enclosed meetings to the public, and this is outrageous and has to be dealt with. So we want legal opinions from the district staff and from individual nonprofits and community groups in cities and counties. Also, the county of LA has been locked out of this thing with the port. They say, 25, 30% of NOx emissions are coming from this. So that you can call special meeting and you can enforce that and say that in addition to what's happening with 2304, and that's being challenged through the Federal Trade Commission. Adrian Martinez talked about this, incorporating that by reference. They try to knock this out. We had to grab onto what exists. They're doing it in San Joaquin, and maybe connect with that legally and do it as an indirect source for this, as these various programs. We got more, and this is kind of an overview, and we'll make comments later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eder. I think that's it for the public comment. Thank you, Lisa and Eugene, for the presentations. I'd like to move us along to the second presentation on the residential electric lawn and garden equipment. I see Victor to do the presentation.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Victor Wan. I'm a program supervisor for the Technology Advancement Office, and today I'm going to speak a little bit about the residential lawn and garden program. Let me see for the next slide. There we go. Just by reference, prior to the currently existing rebate program that started in 2017, we had a lawnmower exchange program that was an in-person where people drive it, and we ran that program for about 14 years. But this program is it was started off initially just lawnmowers, where people would basically scrap an old lawnmower, basically switch that out, and you'd get rebated at a certain amount. I'll get to that in a later slide. But starting last September, we actually expanded the program to incorporate other types of residential lawn and garden equipment, specifically chainsaws, leaf blowers, and trimmers in general. Next slide. And this is just a table showing the rates of participation funding used since the 2017 program. And you can see the level of interest and funding is increased. And typically it's a seasonal type interest. Usually in the summer and springtime, there's a lot more interest in the program. And we get the wintertime, then lawn's not growing as much. We decrease in the amount of refund or rebates. So this just kind of shows you where it is. I think we replenish, we get more funds in every couple of years when it's needed. I think last time when we went to the board, we had about $500,000 added to it. Next slide. And some of the program requirements. One, obviously you have to live in the South Coast area, be a resident within a jurisdiction of South Coast AQMD. You have to have an existing piece of gasoline powered equipment to scrap, when you scrap it. It works on a like for like exchange. So basically, if you want to rebate for an electric lawnmower, you have to scrap a gasoline powered lawnmower. Similarly, if you want to rebate on an electric leaf blower, you have to scrap a gasoline powered leaf blower at one of the participating dismantlers. Again, it has to be new equipment, can't be refurbished. And again, because this is trying to push people to transition to electric lawn and garden equipment, it has to be cordless and battery powered. And also, we're limiting people not to be able to do the pre-bundled packages where you get like a free piece of equipment, because we essentially look at the purchase price of the equipment that you're purchasing, and that's what determines the incentive amount from $150, $200, or $250. And so that's the price of the equipment before tax, delivery fees, or anything else. It's basically just the sticker price, minus if they got some sort of deduction or some discount to it. We are limiting people to 3 pieces of equipment. So that could be a trimmer, a lawnmower and a leaf blower, but you can't, obviously you're only going to switch out a lawnmower once. So we're limiting people to 3, even though you have a choice of 4. And as it says in the bottom bullet, we're not letting people repeat. Next slide. And it's an online program. Specifically during COVID, we went online and everything. So it gives people a lot of flexibility, so they can order something on Amazon, Costco, Home Depot, Lowe's. And the idea is they buy it, then they fill out the application form. They'll get a form to direct them to a partner dismantler, where then they would take their old equipment, their gasoline powered equipment there to get dismantled, and also get some basically the form stamped to prove that it's been dismantled. And then after all the documents are received, we basically send out the rebate checks. And that basically concludes, oh, no, sorry. Again, going back to the funding, sorry, apologize for that error in that slide. I guess it should say 500,000. Yeah, sorry, yeah, didn't catch that one. 500,000 was awarded last September towards this program. And currently we're about halfway through it, so 228,000 left in it. And those are the breakdowns of the prices. Again, the price of the equipment before tax and then a delivery fee. So if you buy a $250 piece of equipment, you'll get $150. So the more expensive the equipment is, the more you'll get, maxing out at $250. I believe that concludes my presentation. So I'll be available for questions if anyone has any questions on the program.
Victor, what's the turnaround for folks to get their money back after they've, scrapped it and submitted the paperwork?
That's a good question. So what it is, we basically need all the paperwork in. So as soon as we have a completed file, typically we can turn that around in 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the volume it's going through. As we actually are, there have been some municipalities have reached out to us that are kind of partnering and kind of advertising the program as well. So it depends on the volume, but typically 2 to 4 weeks turnaround time once we get a completed file.
Do you ask people for a W-9?
So if it exceeds $600, I think it's a finance protocol that we would have to W-9 them. If the 3 incentives add up to $600 or more, then we do require W-9. That's correct.
Yeah. You haven't heard that being a challenge or a problem for some folks?
Usually what happens is the system will flag it after they cross that threshold. And so we just ask them, typically for the most part, we haven't gotten much pushback on it. They'll be like, oh, well, if you want that last rebate, we'll submit this, we'll fill out the W-9, submit it to us so we can upload it for processing. But I don't think, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, so this is mostly for commercial folks, or is this also for residents?
Oh, I apologize. This is we actually have a separate program for the commercial side, which deals with more like commercial landscapers and more heavy duty industrial type equipment. This is specifically for residential, so obviously smaller scale equipment.
Okay, so I imagine the businesses are sort of used to this W-9 stuff, but for residents, I guess it depends. But okay, just wanted to ask those questions. Sorry for jumping in there. Somebody in the room can help sort of navigate that, unless Vanessa, do you have something to add? No. Okay. So yeah, if someone can help me navigate any questions or comments in the room. No?
Raphael does, hang on. My bad. I'm just, what is the commercial side? Because, I've been, telling all the, gardeners in the area, about the program, printing out leaflets and all that other stuff, but apparently I'm printing out the wrong leaflets because this is a residential.
I could have that sent because it's actually a different group that handles the commercial side of it, because it's different type of funding, some of the different protocols to it. It is a scrap and replace as well, but obviously higher amounts, right? Because you're dealing with like basically chippers.
Yeah, that's why there wasn't any traction when I asked them about, hey, did you call? And they're like, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, we can definitely forward you that information.
That would be great. Thank you.
I have a quick question. Is there a way for us to especially on some of these programs that are targeted to specifically residential and communities, is there a way for us to take the information and dissect it a little bit more so that we can find out where some of the funding is actually going to in the particular areas? Is it mostly concentrated towards Los Angeles? Is it, not so much concentrated towards maybe the Coachella Valley or San Bernardino or Riverside? And the only reason I bring that up is because I've often brought this subject to the table that we tend to have a lot of really good communication with the Los Angeles area. They know what's going on. They know the programs that are available. Somehow or another, they do get the information. But I don't see that as much happening sometimes in the outlying areas like Riverside and San Bernardino, and especially even less the Coachella Valley, because I mean, once you hit Whitewater and you get over on that side, it's almost like, nobody remembers them. So is there some way to kind of like break down some of these programs so that we can see where some of it are? Because I think to do that would then give us an idea of how we need to maybe do additional outreach or target, especially because same families out there are in need, so.
Well, I can't speak for all the incentive programs. I can't speak specifically to this one or the Replace Your Ride program. And we do capture obviously their address and everything, so we can be able to check. So we could, it might take a little bit of time because of all the, the files and going back several years. We can definitely isolate the different cities and probably split them up by county. You're right. That's, as far as outreach though, we typically, at a lot of events, we have flyers for this program specifically. We do a lot of social media outreach, and actually several cities have reached out to me because I believe, is it AB 1346? It's the initiative that's basically trying to ban the sale of gas-powered equipment, I think 25 horsepower or less, right? So a lot of cities are reaching out because they want to do that transition to phase out that type of equipment, both for the residents and also their internal fleets. So they've reached out. So they actually, I think one of the sites, one of the municipalities, I don't want to name them, they actually have a supplemental incentive on top of that, but they actually have our QR code so people can go directly to there. I got a call from a city near Vernon out that way, and then they were actually saying, "Hey, we advise people to go to your site so they're aware." There was an incentive to help them bridge that gap to transition from gasoline to electric.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, so I think that, maybe if we could put that kind of like in the spotlight for us to do a thought process on some of these programs to do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I do agree. It would be really interesting to see where folks are taking advantage of these incentives and where maybe we need to do a little bit of extra outreach or informing community. I sort of have been asking that for the Replace Your Ride program as well. So if we can have that, that'd be great. Now, I think I have to ask about people online, if we have any comments.
Chair Delgado has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're like right in front of me and I still missed it. Sorry about that.
No, I just, I was thinking about that, the outreach component. And I worry about the fear that, some landscapers might have right now about applying for government programs. Is there anything that we're doing a little differently at all? I mean, I don't know how much we can do, but I just worry we might have a dip in participation.
Well, I can say for this program in particular, we're just basically asking for the address. We're not asking for any license or anything.
But you do require a business license.
I'm doing the residential side. So.
Oh, okay, got it. You're right.
Chair, this is Aaron again. For the commercial side of things, we have not seen that slow down as much. In fact, there will be a recommendation coming to the board for additional funding for that program in the next month or two.
Okay, great. So yours is the one that was, this program, the residential, is the one where the person whose equipment burned down in the fire is through this one. Okay, got it. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
And
thanks, Vanessa. That was a good flag for us to think about.
Chair, I might add one comment to this discussion. So we really appreciate all of this feedback. And one thing that we would like to do is to partner with all of you to help get that information out there. So if we can provide you with printed materials or digital copies, we're more than happy to make sure you get that and work with you to get that word out. We're excited to be in space with community, and Alicia leads the outreach team that does events. So if there's a community event, we'll come out with like lawnmowers and leaf blowers as examples. So if like people can actually see them, and we frown upon testing at the events, but they can definitely pick them up and see them. So we would like to partner with everyone on that.
Definitely have you in mind for an event we host called Turn on the Sun for next year. So yes, you will hear from me on that. Thank you for the offer. Sorry, Mr. Hagman, I heard you.
We have Raphael.
Oh,
Yeah, so just a suggestion, I mean, if you could, Lisa, if you could provide those documents for the Invest Clean, I'd like to go door to door on some of the, you know, with leaflets and stuff and pass those out to some of the more industrial users and whatnot. But in a recommendation to Victor, maybe if you just sort your database by zip code and then just have that map, that would be like super easy, super sweet, you know what I mean? That way it's clean, easy, you know, that way, you know, big blocks. Oh, San Bernardino. Oh, this many, and yeah, so.
We're
Okay.
clear, Madam Chair.
There's one speaker online.
thank you.
Oh, sorry, Andy. Apologies.
That's all right. Usually overlooked, but like some folks have touched some of the points I was gonna make, and Lisa, I think we were kind of on that same wavelength. With our AB 617 communities, I'm thinking like if we have an incentive and program workshops, you have some folks who are in these communities, especially like someone mentioned down here, San Bernardino, Riverside area that maybe does not get this information. Kind of like teach the teachers, right? You give these workshops, programs, and we will be your biggest advocates to let our communities know, hey, this is out there, but we need to like know the processes, where to find these applications, because you could have them on the website all you want, and they could be accessible, but to find them, and some people maybe don't understand how to go about it, or some people are not tech savvy and so forth. So utilizing and collabing with your AB 617 communities who are already doing that work and outreaching, talk to us, do these incentive and program workshops so we could understand, and we could, like Raphael's doing in his community, go out and speak to people about this at our events. And I know through AB 617, I usually have the AB 617 staff come once a month, and they'll bring their computers and go through the dashboard for like truck or whatever and we'll have coffee with community. They'll be out there at events. And they'll show folks, sit with them and go through all these, like, oh, this is where you find it. So they could go off and show their neighbors and other community members. So maybe doing something like that. And you're always welcome to come. I got some spots in San Bernardino we could hang out, bring out community. We'll make a flyer, invite y'all for coffee and staff, you know, with the SBM community and so forth. So maybe collabing, like I said, with the AB 617 staff, because they're already kind of doing that. And I love it. We need to get the word out. And so, like Raphael says, what areas do we really need to go hard at? And what he suggested, I think, would help you a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. Etter's hand is up, but does he have the full 3 minutes, or do we, because it's a new presentation, or does he have whatever was left over?
I believe he used his full 3 on the first agenda item.
First one. I thought I saw he had like 12 seconds left or something like that, but
We can, at your discretion, Chair, but yeah, we can give him more time.
yeah, let's give him like 30 seconds. If you want to unmute him or call him, or there you go.
Mr. Etter, you're unmuted.
Hello, am I being heard? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the 30. My name's Harvey Eder. I'm the founder and director of PSBC Public Solar Power Coalition. Public power is like 20% cheaper than investor owned. It's more cost effective. And the people and the communities have input. Now, these programs, the 617, the mower, the blower, and other things can be leveraged and coordinated into municipal power and other kinds of co-ops and districts with the cities and the counties. And that should be looked at and done and evaluated.
Thank you, Mr. Eder. We get the gist of what you were telling us, so thank you for that. I don't see anybody else with their hand raised or anybody in the room anymore. So if it's okay, I move us along to number 5, unless we can go back to the minutes. I don't know if we ever met quorum. Any
No,
advice?
don't have quorum.
We do not?
No.
Okay, so we'll just skip the minutes until the next meeting, when hopefully we do have quorum. And I guess go on to number 5, but to see if there's any member updates or other business. Is that from board members or from members of the committee?
Chair Lisa Hart has her card up.
Great.
Hi, I just wanted to talk about the rules regarding the zero emission furnaces and water heaters, rules 1111 and 1121 that were not passed by the board. A couple of thoughts on that. I know that there was a lot of misinformation in the community about them. And does everybody know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. These were, I think, you remember when staff reported on the Go Zero program? There's a really exciting program. I don't think it's launched yet. It's been delayed a couple of times, I think, because of probably, I assume partly because of the delay regarding these rules that were, how to explain it? They were revised a couple times because of pushback from the community, because I think they were considered by members in the community to be too aggressive. The idea was that they were going to phase out gas appliances for water heaters and furnaces. And the first proposal was considered too aggressive, so staff was asked to go back and propose a less aggressive model, or make a less aggressive proposal. And I think certainly and I think many other people thought that that would be passed. But that a month or two ago, I think in June actually, was also not passed. So that was actually going to be I think, still going to be the mechanism to fund the Go Zero model, which is another way to incentivize people to go all electric. So the idea is ultimately, when I say I and many, many people want all of our appliances to eventually be all electric, so we can reduce our emissions and have cleaner air, because that's ultimately what I think and many of us think we all need to do. So this second go-round also was not passed. So I think staff here at AQMD needs to go back to the drawing board, and I think they've been delayed. I don't know if staff knows, but what the timeline is, but I think what I've heard from colleagues is that it's not going to happen this year. It's going to go into 2026, and I actually don't know what's going to happen. So I was hoping that this would be agendized so we could hear from staff what the next plan is and maybe weigh in on our thoughts. I'm still relatively new to this group, and I'm not sure what our role in it is, but I think we're called an advisory group, so I imagine we might be asked to advise as to what should happen, because this has been very complex and controversial. There was a lot of misinformation in the community from folks like SoCalGas and others. And I think AQMD staff did a really good job trying to counter that misinformation, but they don't have the budget and et cetera to counter that adequately. Anyway, so there was a split vote from the AQMD board, and it did not pass. So I don't know what the update is, and I was hoping it could be agendized, but it wasn't. And so here we are, and it's a tough thing for AQMD, obviously, because it's a split vote, and a tough thing for the community because now we don't have those new rules that have been delayed for, I think, close to a year now. I think that's about all I wanted to say. But it was a huge opportunity to clean up our air and reduce our carbon emissions that has not happened. So I don't think we can discuss it because it hasn't been agendized, but I wanted to put that out there. And since at least some of you didn't know about it, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. You're right, we can discuss it, but Lisa, I don't know how it works. If a committee member suggests an agenda item, how that ends up there, but maybe we can discuss. Oh, and Vanessa, you have your hand up.
I just know that this came up at stationary source where it's supposed to return to. So I'm guessing it'll be discussed at the next agenda for stationary source. I think it was Supervisor Mitchell asked the chair to bring it back because that's what the board had directed. So I think I'll stay on watch for that one. I don't think anybody knows exactly what's going to happen to it, but that's a good point.
You.
Chair Manuel Arredondo has his card up.
Good afternoon. I apologize for being late. The traffic was really terrible in Riverside. And it took a long time to get through there. But once I was through there, it was actually, since all the traffic was back there, there was very little traffic on the other part. So that kind of helped. But anyway, I wanted to tie this into the residential program that we're speaking of, but I wanted to also include because I have several questions about there's a conference being held on September the 11th in Palm Springs, and it's being put on by the health care health district that was recently enacted. But they say this is actually going to be their third conference. And some of the topics there have to do with air quality and environmental justice. And I was wondering why I didn't see any. I mean, I could have overlooked it. But I didn't see any connection with AQMD there. And I was wondering if they have failed to invite us or we haven't been able to make contact with them. But they're going to be taking a lot more interest in this, and they have quite a few presentations on their conference. It's a 2-day conference, as a matter of fact. It's going to be on the 11th and the 12th. And they're going to be on the 11th, they'll be giving tours. Actually, you can go online and signed up for bus tours to the different locations of concern. The other thing is that the school district, Palm Springs School District, and together with the healthcare district, they're setting up 24 different air quality monitors that I don't know whether it's being funded through our program or not, or have they contacted us or anything, but they're putting that in 24 different school locations throughout the district and to monitor air quality. And they're going to be making presentations to the parents about how they can access this on a daily basis. And this is a big concern because one of the biggest concerns right now in the Coachella Valley is the air quality due to the impact that the fires have had on us. I mean, some people are going back to the old theory that the reason we put those windmills was to draw the air from the inland area where all the fires are happening and bringing it down, getting away from them and bringing it to us. Some people are actually beginning to think about that again. But there's a lot of questions that are being asked about what can we do about the air quality because of the fires. And I know that the district is concerned about that, and they're doing, they're trying to put this program in place to let parents know that, the days that they actually should take care not to let their children outside. And because the news is out there. I mean, the news is pretty good about putting out, of course, this comes through AQMD, that there is a poor quality on certain days, and that's being conveyed, but people, are not really connected with it. Basically, they don't, and especially in the eastern part of the Coachella Valley, it's a big problem. But there's efforts being done now by the healthcare district, and I was wondering if there's been any attempt to work together with AQMD, or do we need to make contact with them so that we can? I'm sorry. I apologize. anyway, I don't, and I have those questions as to whether we can do that. And on the residential program, I know that in Palm, in the Indian Wells, it's kind of like a model for what they've been able to do with the residential program. City of Indian Wells doesn't allow, it has all electric, it requires the gardeners to have electric powered equipment. And so, because they control the noise level, and they, so that's been pretty good there. And I would like to see if we could maybe work on that and see if we can extend it to some of the other cities. I think if the cities take a lead on it with the, because I've spoken with gardeners who have their small businesses, you know, they have, they don't have a big industrial business, but a small residential business. And they are not really sold on the idea. They're afraid that if they give up their equipment, and then if something goes wrong and it doesn't work, I mean, they're up the creek. So there has to be some more, I guess, marketing, I think, of this. And the cities would be a good place to start, where they, if they start adjusting the rules and regulations so that, and making it, and working together with AQMD to try to get those funding to the people so that they can feel more comfortable with trading their equipment for electric equipment. Especially in view of the fact that the valley is, again, I mean, we were doing so great, actually. I mean, we had a great situation, but now with the fires, we've been getting a lot of that smoke, and it stays there for a while, and it's, so people are getting concerned, and it will become a major issue, I think. But this conference that they're holding on the 11th and 12th, it should be a good beginning, because there will be doctors and people there talking about the relationship between good air quality and health. And so, but I would like to see AQMD take a very active part in that. I'm hoping you're already involved with it, but if you're not being involved, I think we need to reach out to them, because I don't know, you know, why there wasn't more effort to put more of the AQMD there, because AQMD is very effective. I mean, what you do is AQMD staff does is really had an impact, and it's having an impact, and we need you to just be out there and continuing with this new thread that we have with the fire, the smoke from the fires. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it for the comments?
Raphael? And, oh, I'm sorry, Mary and then Raphael.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so following up on Manuel Arredondo, actually, it'll be interesting. So here, first of all, let me say that I'm really, really glad to be back. I know I've been gone for the last couple of meetings. I know, I was excited to come back today. So, anyway, it's really good to be back here. But that being the case, I also don't know what some of your kind of like reports have been from some of the other members that might be out in my area. So I kind of wanted to let you know that there's been a couple of really good, successful community type interventions that have happened with specifically warehouse buildings that have actually, believe it or not, one particular group out in the Riverside area was successful at having a particular warehouse that had already gone through the planning stages and through the city planning department, and they actually got it removed. It was a really big one that butted up against some of the residential area. So they organized, they had presence at all of the meetings, at the planning meetings, at the Board of Supervisors, for the county meetings, everywhere. And they had the numbers. And I bring that up because my thought was, as we were talking about outreach, is there a possibility, I know that most of the meetings that I've ever attended have been here, but is there a possibility of having a particular meeting outside of this particular location? I know that that creates some problems for staff at having to take it like on the road, but my thought was, we have a brand new California Air Resources Board building in Riverside that was basically part of the UC Riverside campus's property. And that was basically, you know, given over to the board. It's a gorgeous building, and nobody that I know of has really ever been in it. But it's in the middle between, I know it would be distance for people like Rafael, but it would be closer for people like Manuel, who's down in Coachella Valley. And so it's kind of, and it wouldn't be all the time, but I think we should consider it, because then that would give you the opportunity to outreach to a group that maybe, and I know during the day, the meetings are not well attended because, I mean, you've got them in the middle of the day, the community's not going to be available for the most part. But if they know ahead of time that it's scheduled, you will get some response, and some people will. And I can tell you that there'll be individuals from that area, because we also, as Manuel was indicating about the quality of the air, that region still has a very strong feeling about all of the truck traffic that we have to deal with because of the warehouses. And all it takes is for us to be on the road to get here to this meeting. When you're driving, you're seeing 2 full lanes of truck traffic, and most of the time they're in the 3rd lane, and they're not allowed to be in that 3rd lane, I know, but they're in that 3rd lane because the 2 lanes are full, and that's both the 60 and the 10. And so my thought is, why not take this particular meeting, because it is a environmental justice advisory group. Let's try and see if maybe we couldn't host a meeting at the California Air Resources Board, and maybe attract some of the local people from both the Riverside, San Bernardino, and Coachella Valley areas for that particular meeting. So that's just a suggestion. So there, thank you.
So I was going to ask, there's a lot of talk in the news, and I'm not sure if it's misinformation or whatever the case might be. Maybe one of the presentations in the future that staff can give would be on these growing commercial carbon capture devices that have been, you know, that a lot of these companies that have been known polluters are gravitating towards in their quota towards, you know, greenhouse gas emission reduction throughout the nation. And so it would be great for staff to have a presentation or something like that and discuss some of the efficacies of CO2, mechanical like CO2 reductions, carbon capture, that kind of stuff. Because of course we're losing our rainforests and, you know, polluting more and more of our oceans, where, you know, half of our literally carbon capture is being actually captured is in the sea from various, you know, plants and whatnot. And, you know, everybody's learning more and more about each day, but yet sea rise, water temperatures, we have nasty algae blooms that are, all of this is impacting our air quality, not only here, but throughout the world. And so until we can get some good information and not spread disinformation and look at some of these things and the pros and cons and really understanding that, you know, I think it'll prohibit us from, you know, getting that information out to our various communities in terms of what works and what doesn't. And then look at things like, you know, going zero emission, like Lisa was talking about in terms of, you know, getting rid of our gas appliances and stuff and looking at cost benefit analysis and things. And then the other thing is, you know, maybe some of these incentive fundings, you know, I know it's difficult, you know, many people rent just because of the housing prices and whatnot, you know, especially in these EJ communities. I know I rent because housing costs is just ridiculous. But I would like to put up solar panels. And if there was a way for me to procure and obtain these, solar panels, but I've tried to look and I don't know where to actually just buy one other than on Amazon. I'm competent. I'm skilled, at putting things together. I understand various systems. And I would like to put up solar in my place just so that I can help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other cards up in the room?
Great. Well, thank you for all the comments, everybody. I think we do need to do public comment right before we see, and I see Mr. Eder has his hand raised. Can we go to him first? Mr. Eder, you'll have 3 minutes for your public comment. Things not on the agenda.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes.
Okay, for the record, I was trying to follow Raphael and specifically wanted to address his comments under new business. Okay? The stuff about carbon capture has been going on forever. It's basically a crutch for fossil fuel to take carbon out and continue fossil fuels. Solar has not been looked at. I want to incorporate by reference on the 15th of this month. There were 3 committees, stationary source, first it was mobile, stationary, and then technical. And in the end of stationary source, especially in technical, Ron G. George, who ran this programs for, solar electric cars and when he's a physicist and economist in the East India and went to London School of Economics. Excellent. So he's saying that solar thermal has been ignored. Okay, the largest solar thermal plants in the world were built here 40, 50 years ago, out by Solar One and Daggett, by the Israelis. Okay, all right. So they made it cost effective, and also 90% of the hot water. They mentioned 11, 150 years ago, we invented and had solar water heaters. In 1910, 30% of the building permits in Pasadena had solar in it. The gas company, the oil and gas wells, they extended their lines for free and gave out free hardware, and they wiped out the solar industry. It went out going for electric to Florida, then they needed copper for World War II. 90% of hot water in Israel is solar. There are other places around the world that have this. Maybe Israel has to grab this as opposed to fossil fuels, and also this greenhouse gas, the 09 endangerment finding is threatened. And it was mentioned that young leaders a couple of days ago. This woman, I think her name was Jessica. Today's the last day to comment on that. There are other things going on for another month or so. So I want to do a shout out to you all to do that, to have another meeting with them, having another meeting and bring this up and to try to deal with that. And so. But basically, solar thermal has been ignored. It's been purged. There's the International Energy Agency. They've done all kinds of things, solar heating and cooling and generating. And there's an outfit that has been doing district heating and cooling and generating for over 100 years. They do it back east, steam and cooling lines and what they do it in Europe. So I want to incorporate by reference those comments and stuff that were made at those 3 meetings and others that relate to this. And this stuff with I had heard nothing about, taking away all of our police rights, our enforcement rights here for 10 years in the district for the ports. It's really outrageous. And these closed secret meetings, this has got to be broken open now. And it's up for environmental justice and young folks to do this. And they took the lead and we got 11.
Thank you, Mr. Eder. If there's no more comments, I'll just remind folks then our next meeting is October 24th, 12 o'clock, same place. Am I able to adjourn?
Yes.
Awesome. So I wish everybody a wonderful weekend. Stay cool, and I'll adjourn at 1:30. Take care, everybody.